What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking every episode 2 from series 1 to 12. Now there will be a link in the description to my ranking every episode 1 video that I did a few weeks back. If you want to watch that one, either watch it before this one or after, it doesn't really matter. The link for that will be in the description. Also remember, this is my personal opinion. This ranking is my own opinionated ranking, so it might be completely different to yours, but I'd love to hear what your ranking would be in the description, in the comments even, down below. But don't bag on me or other people for having a different opinion to you, because an opinion is an opinion. Also, before I get started, I do want to say a massive thank you, guys, for 200 subscribers. We've just hit 200 subscribers a couple of days ago, so that is awesome. Thank you guys very much for that. It means so much to me. Anyway, let's get started. Number 12. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship from Series 7. This episode I really just don't like. I think it's a bit too silly for its own good. I don't really like the villain in this one. He's just a little bit he's a little bit silly at times, and also just way too over the top in other times. Although David Bradley's acting is great, I just don't think the character was written particularly well. You've got the stupid, annoying robots, which are just annoying, and they're not really funny either. They are just annoying. The dinosaurs on the spaceship, it's a cool concept, but ultimately they don't do a whole lot, and they're just kind of there to give us the name of the episode. Also, the name of the episode, I just don't like. Just having dinosaurs on a spaceship as the name of the episode, I just don't think it's a particularly interesting name. It's just, once again, a bit silly. The way that the Doctor just straight up kills Solomon as well is a little bit out of character, I feel, in that moment. So yeah, altogether, I just think this episode is just a bit it's way too all over the place. Has some characters that aren't particularly interesting either. The extra characters, a few too many characters. Yeah, just a bit too much going on and far too silly. Number 11. The Ghost Monument from Series 11. Now this one's frustrating because it starts off really well. We get to see the title sequence, the new title sequence for the first time, which is awesome. And starting like 10 minutes for this episode is really exciting. It's like just one single shot where, the Doctor and I can't remember who it is. It's Doctor and Yaz, I can't remember now. But two of the companions and the Doctor are on a spaceship with one person, and the other two are on a spaceship with another person. And it's all like one shot in the spaceship with the Doctor. It's just a really awesome shot. It looks awesome. And then they have them running away from the other ship, which is crashing behind them. It's just such a cinematic and awesomely shot start. And then straight after that, it completely grinds to a halt. And this episode doesn't really have a definitive villain. The remnants are just kind of there. They don't really do anything. You've got the sniper bots, which are just basically stormtroopers, and they're a bit crap. You've got that horrible moment with Ryan with the whole Call of Duty thing, and generally just a lot of stuff, and a really slow moment in the middle on the boat. This episode just really grinds to a halt. Number 10. The End of the World from Series 1. Now, maybe a little bit of a controversial pick, but yeah, I don't mind The End of the World. I think it's okay, but for me it is one of the weaker stories from Series 1. It's the first time we're actually going off in the TARDIS and doing something, going up onto the space station, which is basically watching the Earth explode. So it's an interesting concept, and the whole thing with Rose, and Rose kind of having to overcome this. The world is just blown up in front of her. Her mum's down there, although she isn't because it's in the future, but she's trying to comprehend this whole new situation that she's in. But the story itself, I think, is just a bit bland. Cassandra's okay, but she's kind of just there, and the little spider robots kind of do their thing, but generally this is a nice showcase of some awesome monster costumes and stuff, and it's a nice episode for Rose and the Doctor and their relationship. But generally it's definitely kind of a filler, sort of alright episode. Number 9. Spyfall Part 2 from Series 12. Now this one's interesting because some people really like the first part and aren't as keen on the second part, and some people really like the second part and aren't as keen on the first part. For me, yeah, I much prefer the first part. I think the second part, although it has a lot going on, I think it has a bit too much going on. Of course, the Master's at his A game in this. Sacha Dhawan really boosts his performance because he is actually playing the Master in this one, and he's very good. He's definitely the standout for the episode for me. But the whole thing with the Kasavans it kind of gets put into the background, and with Daniel Daniel Barton as well, that really gets pushed into the background for the Master, and it ends up just kind of being the Doctor trying to track the Master down over time, and different places in history, and it's something we've just seen before, and it feels a bit repetitive. There's a few too many silly moments in there from the Doctor as well. I like the Master using the actually seeing him use the miniaturization ray sort of thing, but yeah, generally apart from the Master, yeah, this one's fairly forgettable for me. Number 8, Smile from Series 10. This is kind of another just filler episode, but I think it's a decent filler episode. It's just kind of average in my opinion. I was really worried about the whole thing with the emoji bots when I first heard about it. When we kind of saw the trailer for the series, I was like, oh god, they're bringing emojis of all things into Doctor Who. What are they doing? But generally, I think the concept actually works quite well. Having these robots, they basically communicate through emojis, and they tell how you're feeling through emojis. And if you're not happy, well, why are you alive on this planet? And it's a really interesting concept, and I actually think they work pretty well. Ultimately, though, they don't do a whole lot of the emoji robots, but generally throughout this whole episode I am relatively engaged. It is the end that I think's a little bit kind of meh. The end resolution to it all, kind of factory resetting all the robots, I find is a bit naff. And generally just as soon as the human colonists kind of, as soon as they appear, the episode kind of gets a little bit rushed ending and a bit silly, but yeah, generally I think this one's alright. Number 7. The Beast Below from Series 5. Now this is an episode that I've come to appreciate a lot more on my recent rewatch. I used to think this was kind of the worst episode apart from Victory of the Daleks in Series 5, but that isn't really the case anymore. I think this is just kind of an average to slightly above average episode. This episode does a hell of a lot for the Doctor and Amy, that's for sure. Their relationship completely builds and changes throughout this episode. It's their first proper adventure as well, so that's awesome to see. Generally the whole thing with, basically having Great Britain on the back of a space whale is interesting, and I like the forget and remember or whatever it is called. I like that as a concept. I also really love the moment where the Doctor kind of snaps at Amy at the end when he has to make the choice, what is he gonna do? But at the same time, I think that kind of, I don't know, it felt like this episode should have been a bit further on in the series, not, the second story. I think it would have worked towards the end of the series a bit better, but yeah, I still actually quite enjoy this one. Number 6. The Shakespeare Code from Series 3. Now this episode is pretty decent. I mean, it's not one of the standouts for Series 3, but Series 3 is a pretty damn good series. It has some very, very good episodes, especially towards the latter half of the series. The Shakespeare Code, of course, coming in for episode 2, Martha's first adventure, in the TARDIS. And yeah, it's good. I mean, the actor who plays William Shakespeare is amazing. I think he's probably my favourite kind of historical figure in Doctor Who, like actor-wise. I think he's performed really well. And yeah, it's generally quite an interesting thing. You've got the witches, the Carrier Knights, who are interesting, but once again, it's another one of those things where it's like, it's something mythical like witches and stuff. However, it's just an alien again. It's one of those types of things again, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but doesn't bother me that much. But generally, this is just an interesting episode. I think the Doctor and Martha, David Tennant and Freema Agyeman are really good in this one, and yeah, it's just an enjoyable one. Number 5. The Witch's Familiar from Series 9. This is the second part of, The Magician's Apprentice, which I ranked fairly low on the episode 1 list. For me though, The Witch's Familiar is much better than The Magician's Apprentice, mainly because The Magician's Apprentice I just don't like the start of it. The stuff where they actually get to Skaro with Davros and everything is quite good, but everything before that I don't like, whereas in this one it's a lot more interesting. You've got a great dynamic between the Doctor and Davros. Some of those scenes, pretty much all the scenes with those two are amazing. You got the funny stuff as well, like, the Doctor going in Davros' chair and having a cup of tea, and it's just funny. It's a bit too silly, but it's also funny, so I like it. And you've also got the dynamic between Clara and Missy, which is really good in this episode. I love it. I think this is probably one of my favourite stories for Missy. I think she's really good in this one. Just her dynamic with Clara is great. Clara getting into the Dalek at the end is a little bit strange. It kind of mirrors Asylum of the Daleks, which is cool. But yeah, I think this one is the definite improvement on the first part. Number 4. Into the Dalek from Series 8. Now this is one of those episodes which I think is quite underrated. Now, is it pretty much just Dalek from Series 1, but redone? changed a little bit for Series 8. Yeah, it's a similar concept of a Dalek becoming good. But, you know, I mean, it's definitely, I'm not going to say this is better than Dalek, it's definitely not, but I think it's still an interesting story, mainly because first of all, I like the idea of the Doctor, Clara, and all these other people, soldiers, getting shrunk down and put inside a Dalek to fix it, basically. I just find that a really interesting idea. And then, you know, the antibodies thing's a bit like, okay, it's kind of been done before, but it's somewhat interesting, it's there, and there is quite a bit of wandering around, but the main thing I like about this one is the stuff with the Doctor and the Dalek, the whole, icy hatred and the whole thing, that whole scene is amazing. I love that scene so much, and yeah, I generally just have quite a lot of fun with this one. Number 3. Tooth and Claw from Series 2. Another episode that I love. It's just a fun episode. The Doctor's fascination with the werewolf is amazing. Like when he sees it for the first time, he's like, "You are beautiful," and the look in David Tennant's eyes. It's just this mesmerized look. He's like, "This is amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. This is awesome." And then it just kind of flicks to, "Oh, yep, I remember now. We're in danger." And I love that when the Doctor does stuff like that. It's just he's so interested by things that he kind of sometimes forgets that he's in danger, and all the people around him are in danger, and I really like that. And yeah, just CGI for the werewolf. I think for the time, this is 2006. The CGI I think looks good. There's some generally the kind of moments where the werewolf eats someone. I mean, I know they can't show that on Doctor Who, but they look a little bit silly with what they do show. But yeah, I generally think this is quite good. The Queen is really well acted and played, and yeah, I have fun with this one. The monks are my favourite thing, but apart from that, yeah, it's a good story. Number 2. Day of the Moon from Series 6. This is the final of, I guess, 3 kind of 2-part openers, and yeah, this is once again much like with which is familiar. I do prefer Day of the Moon over The Impossible Astronaut. It's not as big of a gap as it is between those other two from Series 9, because I do still like Impossible Astronaut, but I do prefer Day of the Moon, mainly because, well, one, that whole scene at the start, how it just jumps to the Doctor, Amy, well, not really the Doctor, but Amy, Rory, and River. You know, they're running away, they've got all these marks over their face. You're like, what are they doing? And they're getting killed by cancer. It's like, what is going on? I have no idea what's happening. The reveal of the Doctor inside that box is amazing. And then generally just the whole episode I find really intriguing. The whole thing in the house, when, you know, Amy's looking around that house, that creepy house that is terrifying, and the final victory at the end where the Doctor he feels so victorious, but we still know there's a lot that's still going to happen. It's just a really great episode. Number 1. The Fires of Pompeii from Series 4. Now, as much as there were a few pretty good stories on this list, it was only going to ever be The Fires of Pompeii at the number 1 spot. This story is amazing. It's a well-known, very good story, and for good reason. First of all, Peter Capaldi's in this story. He's not the Doctor, but he's in it, and he's amazing. David Tennant and Catherine Tate are phenomenal in this. There's just the chemistry between them just builds and builds and builds. You have the emotional stuff with Donna as well, which it's awesome to see Donna have some of that emotional stuff, especially after the last couple of times we've seen her in the last episode and in the Runaway Bride, where it was all a lot more silly. We see some really emotional stuff here. We see her crying, and the moment at the end where the Doctor has to decide whether he blows up Pompeii and causes the destruction of Pompeii, the fall of Pompeii, or he leaves them. And he doesn't do that, but then these creatures will take over the entire world. It's a great moment and a great story. Alright, so there we have it. That is my ranking of every episode 2 from series 1 to 12 of the new series. What is your ranking down below? I'd love to know. Please tell me what your favourites, what your least favourites are, or just give me a whole ranking of all 12. That would be really awesome. I'm very interested to see. Like I said before, opinions are opinions. This is my opinion. I am totally fine if yours is completely switched around to mine. That's all good. Once again, I want to thank you guys very much for 200 subscribers. I might do a special video at some point, but I've not got anything planned currently. I want to do a Q&A at some point, but I'm not really sure if 200 subscribers is enough for that. Tell me what you guys think anyway, but yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Go down into the description, follow me on Twitter, that would be awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next video.